What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to tonight's Late Night Agenda, where, as always, I hope you've had a nice time between when I last spoke to you and now. United have beaten Chelsea in the Battle of 10 Men at Old Trafford by 2-1. So, if you want to talk about that, of course we can talk about that. We'll talk about the links once again for Federico Chiesa with a move back to Italy. They have resurfaced this evening. We'll run you through some of the numbers from today's game. Of course, we'll have a little chat about Southampton coming up on Tuesday as well. But most importantly, I hope you're all having a nice Saturday evening. How are we all? United are back, said Donal Moore. And I watched the game actually in its entirety, and it was an interesting one. Especially after it was evened up 10-10, I thought, the extra man down on each side gave plenty of space out there on the pitch. And it was an interesting watch. But that is good news for us, right? Because Chelsea, we would think, are more of a contender or certainly more of a challenger for the upper echelons of the Premier League. So seeing them lose today, that's good news for Liverpool, although you never want United to win. Also, Spurs dropping more points. They did battle back to a 2-2 draw at Brighton. So that's more points dropped for them. And it's all coming up well for the Reds so far. Obviously, we'll have all eyes on the Emirates tomorrow ahead of the game between Arsenal and Manchester City. So, somebody's dropping points there as well. It's all good, all good. Andy said, didn't understand taking Neto off, made no sense. Yeah, that one confused me. The first change he made, Andy, after the red card, totally understood it. But the Neto one, yeah, you think with his counter-attacking pace and stuff, he would be somebody that he would have kept on. But look, these aren't Liverpool problems, thankfully. I don't know how I feel about it because, of course, I don't ever want United to win. But I also don't want Chelsea to be spoken about as title contenders when I don't think that they are. So I guess I'll take the result. Do let me know, though, if you watched it, what you were thinking of it. I wanted to just open up tonight with a bit of a question about what David Moyes is on about. So David Moyes said, I found it strange there was only 3 minutes of stoppage time. If Liverpool were 2-0 down, I'm not sure 3 minutes would have been put up. So, let's think about this. I don't think there was much more than 3 minutes of stoppage time. Generally, I don't. There was 2 sets of substitutions, I think, in the second half from both managers. And I don't really remember too many breaks in play for injuries or treatment or anything like that. So, honestly, I know as a Liverpool fan, this might sound a bit like, yeah, of course you do. But I honestly thought about 3 minutes was fine. One more may not have done any harm, but of all the things Moyes complains about, that one I found a little bit weird. I do have to say though, that was probably the best version of Everton I've seen at Anfield in a while. They even at 2-0 down, they came and they played and they had a go. And if I was an Everton fan leaving that stadium, I'd feel disappointed obviously at losing, but they gave it a decent attempt and certainly, as I mentioned, had a go, and they're one of the better versions of Everton I've seen in recent years, and I'd say you guys will probably agree with that. So a 2-1 victory would have been nicer to keep the clean sheet, but I'll take it. Mart said if Bournemouth beat Newcastle, they're second. Yep, it's a mad season so far. I mean, if you're looking at that Premier League table, still see Wolves there, bottom, 0 points, 5 games in. Managers are signing a new contract as well. So it's been a very, very interesting start to the new season. So now that we see Andy in the chat as well, I just want to welcome in Andy, Mary, the second captains, the vice captains of our moderation team, and thank you to those guys for their help. And of course, we now know that Cian Core is our chief moderator. So any questions around stuff like that, Cian will be dealing with it. Jack, how are we, dude? Said thoughts on Isak today. Yeah, thoughts on Isak today. I don't really know what to think because he had 10 touches when he came on. He didn't really have a chance or so to speak of. So it was a difficult one for me to gauge, even with my player ratings. The answer I'm going to give you, mate, is that I'm happy that he got more minutes into his legs. So that's probably the best I can give you on that one. Happy he got the minutes in his legs, but yeah, I don't really have much of an opinion either way on him because, like I said, he didn't have too much action when he was on. Evening LFC fans, good day, said Paul Owens. How are we, Paul? Nice to see you. James, lovely to see you in as well, bro. Didn't realise it was an early start tonight. Yeah, the reason is because I have to record the podcast. So when I finish the 90-minute stream with you guys, I'm jumping straight on with Chris and Connor, and we're going to record another episode of the Anfield Agenda podcast, which will be out for everybody tomorrow morning. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy that. I just finished recording the Southampton preview already, which is nuts because of course we only played today, and that will be out tomorrow night. So if you get a chance, please do check that one out. Stevie Boy, how are we, dude? Said, should have sold Chiesa in the summer. Slot obviously doesn't rate him. You see, I agree. And I agree with both parts of your statement. Now, of course, if we had sold him, we would have had to find a replacement. Fair enough. But I agree with your second part in particular, because we did hear that Federico Chiesa was part of the squad for this season, right? A proper part of the squad. Somebody that we can use and utilise. But yet, not only was he not put in the Champions League squad, tonight he wasn't even in there, this morning, he wasn't even in the matchday squad. So it is very difficult, Stevie Boy, isn't it, to believe that the manager really has faith in Federico Chiesa. And if we're not going to, then why are we hanging around a player costing 7 million quid a year if the manager doesn't rate him? Because he can't use the fitness excuse anymore that he used for the last season. So it must just be, like you've said, that he doesn't rate Chiesa. I don't see how we as fans could think anything else at this point. And while you've brought him up, mate, I might as well bring you to the story around Chiesa, which I seen this evening. So Milan Live have said AC Milan are preparing a €5 million bid, so about £4 million, to sign Liverpool winger Federico Chiesa in January. The Italian winger is open to the idea of reuniting with Massimiliano Allegri. Now look, I wouldn't doubt that there's a possibility they'll come in for him. I wouldn't doubt that there's a possibility he may be open or want to move back to Italy. But I very much find it hard to believe Liverpool would accept £4 million. Not a hope. You know, I know the fee will be lower than he's probably worth. But 4 million quid or €5 million? Come on now. That's silly numbers. I can't see how Liverpool would let him go for that. Because if we let him go, we're going to have to find another attacker to bring in, right? And, you know, we're hardly going to be shopping in big boy books with 4 million quid in the back pocket. So it's an interesting one, but I can't see it at that price. It just doesn't make any sense, does it? So let's talk about goals and assists this season. So here's what we have for the players so far this season, goals and assists. We'll work from the bottom up. Endo has himself an assist. Maka has 1 assist. Rio has 1 goal. Chiesa has 1 goal. Andy Robertson, a goal. Van Dijk, a goal. Then we've got Dominic Szoboszlai, who's got 1 goal and 1 assist so far. Cody Gakpo has got 1 goal and 2 assists so far this season. Now we're into the top 3. Ryan Gravenberch has got himself 2 goals and 2 assists already this season. Ugo Ekitike, brand new into the Liverpool setup, 3 goals and 1 assist. And no surprise who's top of the pile. The man that's always top of the pile in the goals and assist chart, Mohamed Salah, has had 3 goals and 3 assists so far this season. Not too shabby considering we are, 5 Premier League games into the season, 6 games including the Champions League. Mustard Pot Production, excuse me, sir. Said, new to the community, I've had a lot of struggles in recent years. You're a top man, helped me a lot, can't thank you enough. Mate, you never need to thank me. As we always say on here, whatever help I may give to you guys, even if it's putting a smile on your face, you give it right back to me, my friend. So I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying the community. You're very welcome into our community. But you never have to thank me for that, dude. It's always a pleasure, and you guys give me just as much as I hope I give you. So thank you, my man. So, PMD, my friend, who's in the chat spamming United. We've got no problem with you celebrating your win tonight, mate. But, you know, come in and have a chat with us if you want to come in. You won tonight, fair play. I'm not going to take your moment away from you. But if you're very welcome to come in and have a chat with us, dude. You don't have to go and spam the Glory United stuff. Just come in and let us know how you think your team played, because fair play. A win against Chelsea is a good result. By the way, the weather was shocking today, wasn't it? Up at Old Trafford, my God, the rain was belting down. There was moments there where you were wondering was the ref going to have a think about it, because the ball kept moving, but it wasn't moving naturally across the pitch. So, but glad the game did finish. You never want to see games called off like that. Like the Blackburn one was today. I think Blackburn 1-0 up or something like that when the ref had to call that one off. Billy said, wow, 3 goals, 3 assists for Mo already. I'm really happy about that. And Gravenberch is adding more goals and assists to his name. Hugo is crushing it. Hugo's had a brilliant start, hasn't he? And do you know what? There's lots of positives we can talk about today. But I thought Hugo Ekitike really embraced the battle, really embraced the derby. And I really enjoyed his performance. It was one that I think will fill him full of confidence. Obviously, he took his goal very well, but I thought he was put in a good shift today up top and didn't shirk the physical aspect of it. Although in saying that, it wasn't the most kind of blood and thunder 100-mile-an-hour Merseyside derby you're ever going to see with regards to the ferocity of the tackles and stuff like that. But still, a win is a win is a win. And look, I know people aren't happy with the fact that we conceded a goal and people want us to be more shored up at the back, but we won. And that's one thing I want to keep reminding people. We won and we will get better. So, Daryl said, Gakpo struggling. So, you know what? Let's have this conversation. Let's have this conversation because it is a fair one. Do I think we're seeing the best of Cody Gakpo? No, I don't. Do I think he's been as bad as some people, and again, this isn't a dig at you, sir, are making out? No. We know that there are fans in our base who are overreacting, but it is a fair criticism. I don't think we're seeing the best of Cody Gakpo. We know Cody always chips in with his fair amount of goals and assists, but I don't know what it is. You know, today I did notice it more. And normally I would say, okay, well, he was doing defensive work and he was doing this, but today I really did think he was a weak link in our attack. Today, and I'm talking about today. So I think it is worth a conversation. But I guess the question is, what does Arne do there? Do you throw young Rio and Gamoa in at the deep end and say, right, you're that guy now for a few weeks? Or do you retry that Wirtz experiment? Move him out to the left for a little bit. Because you gain and lose something, I think, with each of those decisions. And Florian Wirtz, by the way, I don't think really got up to the speed of that game when he came on. Very difficult thing to do. I thought maybe the same for Isak. He didn't really get up to the pace of the game when he came on either. But that's different. Coming off the bench and into a game is a little bit different. So I'm not sure what the best course of action is on the left. But I do think it's a position that's up for grabs at the minute. And I think it's fair to have that conversation. Andy said Chiesa at left wing. Well, it's difficult to say yes, Andy, isn't it? When we know that the manager didn't even put him in the squad today. So, yes, in theory, we could play Chiesa on the left. Now, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler. I did do my prediction for the Southampton game, and I put Chiesa on the right for this game. Obviously, because I want Rio Engamo on the left, but I do think it is worth a shot, you know, because Mohamed Salah is going to be going to the AFCON, so we are going to need to have that extra body to play more games. Whether the manager trusts Chiesa or not. Do you know what? Let's ask this as a poll question. Because, you know, Stevie Boy brought it up at the very start of the stream. And I think it's a really fair point. What is the point of Liverpool having kept Chiesa around if the manager doesn't want to really trust him or use him? So that's what I want to ask tonight. So, I'm going to ask, do you think that Arne Slot wants Chiesa around? You know? It kind of feels like he is just a body for the sixth attacker. And just so we have 6 attackers. Because there doesn't seem to be a plan of how he wants to use him. You know, we know he wasn't in the Champions League squad and he made his explanation there, and fair enough. But to not have him again in the squad today was an interesting one. Now, in fairness, he could look back through it and say, right, Craig, who does he leave out? And again, that's more than fair as well. But we all like Chiesa. And we knew last year that there was the excuse, right? The excuse that he wasn't fit enough or he couldn't give him the minutes. But we kept him around this summer. There was an option to move him on. And add into this, remember he didn't go on the pre-season tour as well. to Japan and Hong Kong. So if you put all these things together, no Champions League squad, not in the matchday squad today, wasn't taken on the pre-season tour over to Hong Kong and Japan, I find it really difficult to really buy into the belief that Arne actually trusts him and actually wants him around. You know, because there's not much to say he does. Right, Richie, how are we, dude? Richie said, drink it in, Craig, up the Reds, going to the Southampton game Tuesday, hopefully get the win, hopefully not too many changes. Well, excuse me for coughing, Richie. Enjoy the game, bro. It's going to be a really interesting one. Normally, these early League Cup rounds and stuff, I'm a bit meh about, but I'm actually really looking forward to it, Richie, because, you know, we may see Leone, perhaps Jayden Danns. Certainly, we're going to see Giovanni Leone for the first time. We'll probably get a look at Georgi Mamardashvili in goal as well. Gomez likely to get some minutes. So there's a lot to be excited about. And as you said, man, drink it in. Perfect so far this season. And we haven't even hit our stride yet, Richie. That's the best part of it, dude. You know, 5 wins from 5 in the league, 6 wins from 6 in all comps. And we've yet to really hit our stride. So imagine what we're going to do when we do get there and when we do hit 90% of what we're capable of. So what I did see today as well, though, was more of Mohamed Salah back to himself. That ball he played into Ryan Gravenberch for the goal was top notch, and I thought Mo played well again today. Certainly looked sharper and better than we'd seen in the first few league games. I don't know if he picked up a bit of extra form from the Champions League midweek, but I thought Mo, again, my worries there, the few I had, gone. I think he's back now, and I expect him to kick on from here for the rest of the campaign. Harry said, right now, yes, because we don't have enough first-team strikers. If Dan's set up, surely we will sell him. But thing for him and the team is to sell him in January and get a player in for more right-wing cover. It's a tough one. We have to often think about it as well for the player, because he's going to want to force his way into Gennaro Gattuso's Italian side. He's going to want to go to the World Cup, Chiesa, because, well, this might be his last chance to go to a World Cup. What is he now, 28? 32 is not too old. He can certainly probably push for one more. But he's running out of chances to keep playing for the Italian national team. And if he's not getting game time at Liverpool, he's hardly going to be picked. So it's that balance between, will he really push maybe in January to say, look, Gaffer, you're not giving me the minutes here. I can't convince the national team manager. What's the point in having me around? It is going to be an interesting one because, like you've said also, if you do move him on, well, what do? Do you go into the market? Do you promote Jayden Danns through and have 3 strikers, but still kind of a dearth of options on the right side for a winger? These are things that I think we'll find out soon enough, but interesting nonetheless. Billy said, Salah was pretty good, brilliant assist, and to be honest, should have had a goal. Wayne said, we can try Leone and Stefan Bajcetic with Endo. So when I was doing my team selection, the one I struggled to put in was Stefan because I don't know what level of fitness. So I didn't put him in my starting 11. But like you've said, mate, really hope we get to see him. Yeah, excited. And Leone, well, Leone never lets us down when he gets a chance. I'm really big fan of him. So looking forward to him playing. Andy said, I think Mo was affected more than anybody with Jota. Just seemed so sad for a long time, understandably. I think so as well, Andy. You know, I've tried to make this point a few times over the season so far, but not only do these guys all grieve differently, of course, but they've had to grieve in the public eye a lot of the time, and we've seen the expression of emotion from Mo at the end of some of the games, but I'm not saying he's put it behind him because these guys won't be able to put a loss like that behind him, but I do feel we're getting back to seeing him as his normal self, Andy, and I think we'll be all the better for it, you know. But they will of course carry the memory of Diogo throughout, and his brother Andre throughout the entire season. And there's bound to be some of them that maybe it just lingers a little bit longer with, or still, you know, affecting their performances or whatever. But I do think Mo's turning a corner now. Mark, how are we, Mark? Mark said, I think Mo's becoming more of a passer/assister for goals while others are nicking a few himself. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think we need to reimagine what we expect this season from the attackers. You know, we're so used to Mohamed Salah being the guy with ridiculous numbers of goals and assists. But we also know that as Mo's getting a little bit older, we need to prepare for one life without him. And also, we need to have other people be able to step up and contribute. So it'll be really interesting to see at the end of the season what the numbers look like. How many Isak goals and assists do we have? How many Ekitike goals and assists? Wirtz, Salah. How many goals are we going to see chipped in from midfield? Rio and Gamoa. So the aim is to not have to rely on Mo as much as we have done in recent years. And that was why the club invested so much in the quality forwards that they brought in. So what I would say to people is, don't become obsessed this season with goals and assists. Just focus on performances and results. Because ultimately, we want the burden shared around. It'd be far better for us if we had a load of goal scorers between 12, 18 goals, rather than having one guy that, if he goes to the AFCON, we're going, where are the goals coming from? That was the whole point of what we did this summer. And I think it's important we keep re-emphasising that fact, because we're so used to going, Salah got these goals and assists and, isn't he the guy? And 51% of our goals and assists came through him. The burden has to be spread around, and that's a healthier thing for the squad. David said, Slot said in his post-match interview today that Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Verge would all be rested on Tuesday. Makes absolute sense, David. No need to be putting all the heavy hitters on the bench. You want to make sure there's 3 or 4 senior players on that bench in case the worst comes to the worst. You do want to try to rescue it, but ultimately, let's look at who we're playing as well. We're playing a Southampton team that are lower mid-table in the Championship, or pretty much mid-table in the Championship at the minute. So you have to think as well, how much are they going to prioritise this game? Are they really going to go hell for leather in it, or are they going to try to just, get through the game, have no injuries, and keep focused on trying to get back up that Championship table and back into the Prem? Christine, respectfully, we don't do politics in the chat. And, you don't want me to start talking about Kash Patel wearing a Liverpool tie, because he's not fit to wear the fucking tie, to be honest. And I don't want to get into it, and I don't want to divide people with politics or anything. So, let's just not speak about Kash Patel or anything like that, because, like I said, I don't think the man's fit to have a liver bird around his neck or on his chest or anywhere else. But, we'll best to leave it there, because I don't want to be divisive. Bricktop said, I'm still sad about Diogo Jota, so can't imagine what them lads are going through. I just hope we can nail this Premier League title from. Yeah, it's incredibly sad, man. I still sometimes look up at my wall and see Diogo's jersey there, and I just think, I can't actually believe it. Or you'll see a clip from last season or something like that, and you just think, he's really not here. Like, it's just incredibly sad. And of course, Andre, his brother, as well. What else have we got? So Arne Slot spoke a little bit about whether there's a headache for the selection of choosing Isak and Ekitike, and he said there's no headache at all, because I even think these two players are very happy that we have them both. Both of them know it's very hard for them to play 3 times 90 minutes. This is the question you can ask every manager in the league, and asking them, you have 2 strikers, yes. Do we have 2 number 9s? Yes, like many others in the league. And again, he's right, because we had 2 strikers last season, in Diogo and Darwin. So perfectly natural for us to have 2 strikers now. And it's been a bigger deal has been made of this in the media or by a lot of people than I think it should be, because it's perfectly normal for us to have 2 number 9s or 2 central strikers. Now we just have 2 that are very pickable, both of them, and it's a good headache for Arne to have. So, Shamit, did I not just say we're not talking about politics or Kash Patel? You don't want me to get into a rant, mate, about it. You know what I'm going to say. You're just trying to bait me into it. He's not fit to wear the fucking liver bird on his neck or his chest or anywhere else. Simple as that. I don't want to get into it because I don't do politics on the channel because it's a divisive subject and I'm not here to divide people. I'm here to bring people together. Of course, like anybody else, I have my own views on the world, but I try to keep politics and religion and this type of stuff out of this content because that's not what we're here for. So, respectfully, let's just not speak about anything like that, and let's just focus on footy or life in general or music or anything else that will bring us together and not divide us. Did you see Garnacho getting humbled by United? I seen him on the bench and not coming on. So yeah, apart from that, look, I'm not really ever been a big Garnacho fan, and not just because he isn't, he was a United player. I don't like his attitude, really. Mike said, "Hi Craig, just moved to Melbourne from Kenya. Nice, congratulations, dude. I hope the move is going well for you and you're settling in well. Missed the match. Any Aussies know best streaming service? Time zone's brutal. Love you, Craig. Been here 4 years. I'm sure there are going to be some people in the chat like Stevie Boy and a few others who are in your neck of the woods, mate, and can give you some advice on where to stream and watch the footy in Australia. But I hope you settle in well, mate. It's a really cool move for you. Enjoy. I know a few friends and relatives of mine moved over to Australia, and not one of them I know has come back. So I hope you enjoy yourself and settle in over there in your new life. And thank you for being with us for 4 years. Speaking of music, do I like Kanye West? Kanye West music? I haven't really listened to anything new from Kanye West in a long time, to be honest, because I'm at that point in my life where I don't really have space for much new music. But College Dropout and those type of back in the day, absolute genius musically, absolute genius. Again, talking about just the music here, but yeah, I would have had God, I would have a lot of time to listen to Kanye stuff back in the day. Yeah, 100% absolute musical genius. But like I said, I haven't probably paid attention to his last 3 albums, maybe even more than that. I'm going, early day Kanye stuff, Through the Wire, that kind of stuff. If I wasn't a Liverpool fan, what team would I support? The answer would have always been Newcastle. After this summer, I don't know if I changed that, but the answer probably would have been Newcastle if I wasn't a Liverpool fan or if Liverpool Football Club didn't exist. I would look for that connection of people that I feel I'd have a similar life view on, a similar view on economics and just working class roots and normal stuff. So yeah, probably Newcastle. Declan, so the media seem desperate for Hugo and Isak to not work. If it isn't Verts, it's the strikers. 5 games in, I'm bored of it already. They all want us to fail, mate. Because they know. They know when this team puts it together, we're going to be really, really difficult, if not impossible to live with. So, yeah. Look, I even seen Pep the other day trying to make out like, if Arteta wins the league, surely it's just because of the money spent. Like, the delusion from some of these people are hilarious. But bring it on. We said this in the summer with the players we brought in. There does come a level of expectation and a weight of responsibility to get the results. But we've got them so far. So yeah, I'm a happy Liverpool fan. There are things we need to work on, things we're all not happy with. But ultimately, 5 games in the league, 5 wins, top of the table, perfect. A nice handy Champions League win as well against Atletico. So I'm a happy Red right now. Charles said, Craig, I was flying home from Coralejo during the game. Could you give me a 30-second story of the game? I'll try my best. So, came out of the blocks flying, like really impressive. Up in Everton's faces, great tempo to the game. And I have to say, the first 25 to 30 minutes, I was super impressed with how we played. Obviously got our goals, and my goodness, the first goal in particular, absolutely stunning move. If my memory's correct, Szoboszlai picks up the ball, goes out right hand side to Salah. Salah then dinks a lovely ball into the path of Ryan Gravenberch, who makes a run into the box, doesn't even break stride, kind of lifts it over the goalkeeper. How would I describe it to you? A scoopy dink is probably what I would say. Into the far corner. Beautiful judgment from Ryan. Beautiful finish. And then the second goal, again, had Gravenberch involved in it. Threaded through a nice ball to Ugo Ekitike, who was playing on the shoulder of the defenders. Pickford comes out, slots it through. But when we went 2-0 up, there was a shift. There was a mentality shift from both teams. Everton played their way back into the game and, be honest, put in a good shift. We went in at half-time, still 2 goals to the good. Came out second half, Everton got that goal. And it was a well-taken finish from Idrissa Gana game. You know, he did bury it. It was a good strike. But honestly, despite what others are saying in the media or the narrative that they want to put out there, I never felt we were going to concede that second. I didn't. I never felt Everton were knocking on the door too much to really put us under too much pressure. So, of all the games that we've had a 2-0 lead in, conceded one, today was the one I really didn't feel that an equaliser was coming. I thought we'd get the third, and we probably should have, but yeah, that's the best synopsis I can give you of the game. Richie said, Craig, great to see Moyes fuming at the end. Yeah, it wouldn't be a derby without Moyes bitching and moaning, would it? Because ultimately, Richie, he still hasn't won a derby at Anfield, and that's going to keep going on and on and on. Curtis, here we go. Said, one for Mike. I used Sky Sports when I was in New Zealand. Can buy a Premier League pass for a decent price, and they show every game and cup games too. Thank you, Curtis. And again, Mike, I hope you're still watching, mate. That was for New Zealand, but you know, we're getting closer, Mike. We're getting closer. Am I worried about Maka? So I'm not worried because I think it is him playing catch up still. Now, there's no denying we're not seeing the best Alexis McAllister, but I do think there's a reason for it. Like Arna said, he had a bit of a broken up pre-season. He was playing catch up a little bit, but he wasn't great today. He wasn't. But we do know it's a temporary thing with him. And this is why we have those extra bodies. Because one man I want to give a bit of credit to was Curtis Jones. I thought when he came on today, he looked really lively, was always showing himself, making himself available for the ball. And I thought that he did well when he came on. Maka needs games. He does. He needs games in rhythm. He is still playing catch up a little bit. Hi Craig, Rayo wants Gravenberch, says Ficajes. Yeah, they can do one, Giannis. You know, every time one of our players is doing well, Real Madrid want them. McAllister, Real Madrid wants them. Gravenberch, Real Madrid wants them. They can do one. Ryan Gravenberch is a Liverpool player. I think he's contracted to 2028. Let me just double check that because I got this information earlier. 1 second. I did get this sent to me earlier on. Yeah, June 2028 is when Ryan's contract is up. So 2.5 years to go on it now. This would be the time where Liverpool should be sitting down to try and extend that with Curtis. But yeah, look, Real can do one, mate. They're not getting them. And the funny thing about Curtis, or no, excuse me, not Curtis. Why am I saying Curtis? The funny thing about Ryan is he's only 23. So not even in his prime yet. When this dude hits his stride and really, you know, gets even better, can you imagine the level he's going to get to? Naturalist, there was a story a few days ago that said the club is talking to Ryan about a new contract. Well, they'd be silly if they weren't, wouldn't they? You know, Ryan has been incredible. And again, today I thought he was brilliant. I did think it was interesting, actually, hearing from him after the game. Let me give you some of his comments. Because, where were these comments? Just make sure I get the right ones. Was it this one? No. Oh, no. So we basically said after the game that the manager's now given him more license to get forward a little bit. That he was deep last season, and now he's able to get into the box and make some later runs. Did you hear the stuff from Nick Voltmatter, by the way? Some of the quotes from him are interesting. So here's some quotes from Nick Voltmatter, Newcastle's new €90 million striker. Most talented player I've played with? Florian Wirtz, for me. He's such an amazing player. I like his playing style, looking so smooth and creative in the national team. He's the best player I've played with. Speaking a little bit about toughest defender he's played against, Virgil van Dijk. Have you noticed the pattern here? Nick Vultmad is pretty fond of all things Liverpool. Favourite Premier League player ever? He said Ronaldo was amazing, but maybe Steven Gerrard. To be honest, I always played with him on FIFA. He had an amazing shot. I like players with full intensity, like shooting and win duels like he did. Amazing. Is Nick Vultmad a red? Is he already trying to say Newcastle, I want to follow in the footsteps of Isak? And also, away stadium, he said. Away stadium he's looking forward to playing in. I would say Anfield. Jurgen Klopp was there a long time and everybody in Germany likes Liverpool. So I think this will be nice. Nick Vultmad is loving Liverpool, isn't he? Stevie G, favourite player. Best defender he's come up with, Virgil van Dijk. Stadium he wants to go and play in, Anfield. You know, most talented player he's played with, Florian Wirtz. You know, I'm sure the Newcastle fans are loving all of this stuff. Andy said Ryan under Klopp was a bit meh, and I didn't see a player there. Ryan under Slot is a different beast. Glad to say I was wrong. Well, Andy, you weren't the only one, dude. You know, I mentioned this many times, and thank you for your super chat, sir. But when we signed him, I was questioning the signing. I didn't get it. Like, where are we going to utilise him? Why is he leaving Bayern? You know, there were things there that I was worried about. But, you know, like your good self, mate, I'm not afraid to admit how wrong I was. And under Arne, like you said, he's pushed on again. So let's have a look at the next 5 fixtures for ourselves, for Manchester City and for Arsenal. And we'll kind of see, well, how the lay of the land is looking forward in the Premier League. So right now, we know the Reds are perfect, 5 from 5. But our next games, Crystal Palace away, next Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. Then the last league game before the international break, we have Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, October the 4th. After the international break, a game that I'm going to myself, is Manchester United at Anfield. That's October the 19th. Then we've got Brentford away and Aston Villa at home. So that's Liverpool's next 5 games. Palace, Chelsea, United, Brentford and Villa. Arsenal, well, obviously they take on Manchester City tomorrow at the Etihad. At the Emirates, my apologies, at the Emirates. Then Newcastle away, so 2 very difficult games there for Arsenal in a row. Up at St James's Park, we all know how difficult that is. So they've got to go there, September the 28th. They've got Manchester City tomorrow. Then they've West Ham at home, Fulham away, and Crystal Palace at home. So 3 ties in London in a row there for them. So a couple of tough fixtures for Arsenal coming up. Manchester City, they've got Arsenal tomorrow, as we've spoken about. Then they've got Burnley at home, Brentford away, Everton at home and Aston Villa away. So it'll be very interesting after these next 5 games to see what the lay of the land is. But right now, we know that tomorrow we're either going to be, 5 clear of Arsenal and 7 clear of Manchester City, or 6 clear of Arsenal and 6 clear of Manchester City, or 9 clear of Manchester City and 3 clear of Arsenal. Either way, there's points being dropped tomorrow. And Liverpool's lead in the league is going to be set in stone. What have we got here? Fulham pulled one back now. It's 1-1. There you go. Thank you for that update, folks. Wayne said Southampton used 4-2-3-1. And they've done that twice. And 3-4-2-1 5 times. Thank you, Wayne. I don't know much about the current Southampton team. You know, I don't really watch much of the Championship, so appreciate your insight, Wayne. Right, so the question that we'd asked you, we need about 288 more votes. Do you think that Arne Slot wants Federico Chiesa around? Yes or no? We're trying to get to the bottom of this one. Oh, 2-1 Fulham. Wow. That's moved quickly. 2-1 Fulham now. There you go. Who do you think is realistic Salah and Van Dijk replacement? So the Elise thing, I think, makes a load of sense for Salah. So I'm going to stick with Michael Elise as that answer. And I guess the answer for Virgil is it's probably going to be a combination. So if Mark Guehi comes in, he could be the future leader of the defence if Canade goes. Then you've got Giovanni Leone coming through as well, and he's only 18 years of age. So if he is anywhere near what we think he's going to be, you could have him there for the next, I don't know how many years. So honestly, it's a difficult one to answer now because there's a lot of moving pieces at the minute. Don't know what's going on with Mark Guehi. Don't know what's going on with Canade. Haven't seen a minute of Giovanni Leone yet. So yeah, difficult one to answer. So I'm going to sit on the fence on that one. But on the Salah one, I think Michael Olise is the answer. Hammer said, honestly, I can see VVD getting a new deal in a year. It'll be an interesting one, all right, because, you know, he's showing no signs of slowing down and still playing loads of games. So, yeah, Virgil is definitely a player that could play to 38 at the top level. I think most of us would agree on that one. Virgil's looking as good as ever, said Keane. Yeah, it's great to see. He really is. Harry said, for me, Guehi's leadership is closer to VVD and Olise for Mo, but do we get them? I think we get Olise. I don't know. I'm just so confident we do get Olise. I think he'll do a few more years there at Bayern. I don't think it'll be next summer. I'd like it to be next summer. But honestly, yeah, I do think we get Michael Olise, and I think we'll have to pay a pretty penny for him. But honestly, I have a good feeling about it. But it is football, and a lot can change between now and then. A new youngster could break through to the Liverpool first team and, you know, nail down a place and become a superstar. We could bring in somebody else that we don't know much of next year, and then over the course of a year see that person explode onto the scene. So really tough one to gauge right now, but as a guess, I would say Olise. Govind, how are we, sir? Said, hey Craig, do you think Isak will be starting against Southampton since he needs minutes? No, I don't. And I don't know if I'm answering that, mate, because I don't want him to play the game, because it's a game where, you know, I would want a lower caliber of player. But I also wouldn't be angry if he did get 60, because you've made a more than fair point about him needing minutes. We know we've got Crystal Palace away next weekend. That's a good point, mate. It is a good point. I don't know if my pig-headedness doesn't want him to play it out of maybe sheer arrogance, because, like I said, you've made a very fair point about him needing game time, and it's got to come from somewhere. Didn't get too much today. It is Tuesday and Saturday, so there's plenty of time for him to even recover if he did get 60. Do you know what? Let's open it up to the chat, mate, and see what they think. Do you guys think we'll see Isak start the game against Southampton? Because I do think there's potentially a striker position up for grabs for that game. Chiesa I would expect on the right, Leone on the left. Is Dan's ready? So what we might see maybe is 60 minutes for Isak, 30 minutes for Jayden Danns. Because I don't know if Jayden Danns will be ready to come in and do, let's say, 60, 65. I didn't go with either of those two, my prediction, by the way, which is going to be coming out tomorrow. So, yeah, I think people are going to be a little bit angry at me for who I went with. Morton said, hey Craig, been a minute. What has you convinced about Olise being the future option? Something about a contract clause, or what was it? Just a few things. So there was that Bayern Space post about the buyout clause, but ultimately, people I've spoken to, some journalists, some fans, some other content creators, there seems to be a genuine belief that this timing will make sense. So what we know about Liverpool is when they spend big money on players, often you're talking about players who've done it somewhere else and then come into Liverpool at about 25. You know, look at the big money signings in the past of Isak right now, Virgil van Dijk when he came in. So in 2 years' time, Michael Olise will only be 25. He would have had a spell in the Premier League. He would have played in a World Cup probably with France. He would have been in the Bundesliga and played Champions League football regularly with Bayern Munich. It just makes sense that that's the right age as well. 25, experienced, homegrown, just ticks a lot of boxes for me. So that and the bits that I'm, hearing from others about their confidence, it all just kind of paints the picture of him being the ideal target. Thoughts on Moyes saying if Liverpool were 2-1 down, there would have been more added on. Well, what do I expect? He's a bitter manager from the bitters. I expect him to be bitter. No surprise there. Thinking about it logically, though, 3 to 4 minutes was right. Like, could he have given 4? Maybe. But, think about the game. There was 4 blocks of substitutions in the second half, 30 seconds a pop. That's 2 minutes. And after that, I don't remember physios coming onto the pitch. I don't remember too much of a stoppage in play or breakdown in play. So, honestly, I think 3 minutes was right. Maybe one more at a push. But either way, Moyes just wants something to I guess, bite onto to, again, curry some more favour with the Everton fans or try to make out like they were hard done by. Ultimately, his record at Anfield's shocking, and he still hasn't got a win there. So I expect nothing less from the Everton manager than to find something to moan about. Elmir said, I'm not getting a haircut until Liverpool win at least 5 games in a row. Anyone know of a good barber? Well, I don't, obviously. But the United strand, that gentleman's hair is going to be a very, very long length by the time he gets that haircut when United win 5 games in a row. I think he might have to taper those expectations down to 3 games in a row now or something. But they won 1 today, so 4 more to go before he can get his haircut. VI Jokers said, I can imagine Chiesa probably unhappy being left out of the Champions League squad. Yeah, that I'm fine. That I agree with, yes. I just... Look, nobody'd be happy being left out of the Champions League squad. I get that. But the matchday squad again today felt like another real, very clear indication of where he is in the manager's thinking. He's the last of all the attackers. So, you got to ask again, why keep him around? Because the manager just isn't going to give him game time unless maybe the League Cup. It just feels like it's a waste for everyone at this point. David Sultana, how are we, David? Do you think we bring Guehi and January over Canade situation? Slot got to be ruthless. Well, it's a tough one because we always think about this as fans and what suits us and what suits our club. But we've also got to think about it from the player's perspective and from the other club's perspective. So, do I think Madrid are going to come up with an offer that will tempt Liverpool to sell Canade in January? Probably not. In an ideal world, if there was a way that Canade said he wanted to go and Mark A came in, would I be angry if it happened? Probably not. But call me a shithouse. At this point, I don't want to give Steve Parish a penny because he could have got his 35 million, but he listened to his manager, who I bet you will fuck off at the end of the year. I'm pretty confident Glasner will leave at the end of the season. So yeah, I don't want to give him the money. So I would say Canade is playing well. He's certainly not looking like his head's not there. He's doing all right. So if you can keep that up right throughout the season, just leave it till the summer. I'd rather not give Parish the money. I don't know if I'm being a shithouse there or not, but like I said, he had the chance to get 35 million quid and pull the plug on it last minute after the player done his medical. So, yeah, I don't want them getting free money. And I think somebody said to me the other day that they're open to selling them in January and they'd want more than the 35 million. I mean, I don't know what they're smoking, but yeah, it doesn't seem to make much sense to me. Right, have we got the 1,000 votes yet? Nearly there, only 90 more to go. The question that we asked to kick us off tonight was, do you think Arne Slot wants Federico Chiesa around at Liverpool? Because not only is he not in the Champions League squad, he wasn't even in the matchday squad for today's game, nor was Giovanni Leone. We'll only go from if we have no choice, in my opinion, said Ollie. It's a tough one because even Mark Guehi himself previously had said it's not ideal to be uprooted mid-season and change clubs and stuff in a World Cup year. And that's one thing we do have to keep in mind for these guys. It is a World Cup year, so they're going to want as much game time and routine and, not as much upheaval as possible because they want to go and play in the World Cup in the summer. Right, let me get back to my notes because there's a few other bits I wanted to read through for you. Where was... done that one. What's this one? So, XG conceded in the last 4 games. This is an interesting one for you. So, Arsenal have 0.49 XG conceded in the last 4 games. Burnley 0.13. Atleti 0.61. Everton 0.6. That's nuts. We have very, very good XG for our last 4 games. The XG against Arsenal was less than half a goal for us to concede. Burnley 0.13, so just over 1/10 of a goal. Atleti, even though we conceded 2, the XG was just 0.61. And Everton 0.6 today, and we conceded 1. But to be fair, that was a good strike from Adissa Ganagay that I can imagine outperformed the XG. There was another story from Fakahes that said that Andy Robertson is expected to leave Liverpool when his contract expires next summer and could agree a free transfer to Atletico Madrid. I'm not sure how much I believe that story, to be honest with you. This one is nuts. With 5 goals in 4 games, and I actually had to double read this just to check I was right. With 5 goals in 4 games, this is Erling Haaland's worst ever start to a Premier League season. That just sounds nuts. 5, better than a goal a game, and it's still his worst start to a Premier League season. That's actually insane. 5 and 4, and it's his worst start. That's crazy. Surely it's his golden boot this year. I can't see anybody living with him. Honestly, I can't. Because Liverpool, as I said, I expect us to share the goals around. I don't think Gyökeres is getting anywhere near his numbers. And I don't think there's anybody else that's going to put up just that sheer amount of solo goals in the Premier League. So, yeah, I think Haaland, unless he has an injury or something, will be winning that golden boot. Christine said, if Canade goes on a free, then getting Guehi on a free won't be so bad. So, it will be a free, but it won't be a free. Because, of course, there will be a signing on fee and stuff like that will need to be given. But, yeah, I'd rather give the money to Mark Guehi than hand it over to Steve Parish. Keane said, can't stand Haaland, but it's a piss take how good of a goal scorer he is. It's really interesting, though, those links to Barcelona that have popped up over the last week or so with him and a potential summer move. Because I wonder what does happen if those charges against City get proven. Honestly, I wonder if players start to disappear then, or if there's clauses in some of their contracts. There's no way I believe that Erling Haaland signed that new 10-year deal at Manchester City without some clause in there to say that if City were relegated or had multiple point deductions or couldn't play in Europe. I refuse to believe he signed that and said, oh yeah, sure, whatever happens, happens. Alex said, Craig, at the live show, can I buy you a beer? I've got a great Wembley story to share with you. So you can have a chat with me and we'll have a drink, but I'll be driving, so I don't think I'll be having a beer. But yeah, we always make room afterwards, make time to sit outside and have a chat with everybody out in the bigger area, the foyer. So absolutely, I'd love to hear your story about Wembley, and I can't wait to meet up and have a chat with all of you guys. So if you would like to come and see us, by the way, and this is our last ever show. So if you want to come and see us, we're in Liverpool, Sunday the 19th of October at the Hot Water Comedy Club, which is our home over in Liverpool. It's the day of the Manchester United game. We're going to be on stage. Tickets are just £15. All the money that we get from ticket sales, we're going to donate to Joe's fund for his wheelchair basketball chair. And it is an all ages event as well. So scan that QR code to get your tickets. Lucetti Mason, or excuse me, Lucetti Masonry, apologies, said, I'm not laughing at Newcastle players getting injured. However, there is a level of humour to be found. Many of their fans are wishing a bad injury on Isak. Yeah, I never like anybody like their fans wishing an injury on our players or any player. It's just not a right thing to think of. But the irony for them is that they absolutely lambasted Isak and praised Visa for the same shit. It was mental. John said, Craig, hope you well. Don't know how true this is, but Guehi has told his agent he wants to move to Madrid over Liverpool. And again, John, I imagine that's bullshit, but I don't know where the story came from. I don't know who's credited with the story, so it's not something I can really give you an answer to. Now, I don't know what happens with Mark Guehi, like I've said. And the likes of James Pearce and others have written that he will be a Liverpool player. It's just a matter of when. And I hope that's right, because it makes sense to me. Liverpool were there, willing to put the money down. He's agreed the wages. He's done his medical. He's met the Liverpool staff. He'd recorded his goodbye video to Palace. So I would be... It's not impossible, but I would be very surprised if he isn't a Liverpool player when his contract's up. Do you think Slot will start Leone and Gomez as centre-backs with Robbo as captain, as Van Dijk needs some rest? I don't want him to play small matches like these and get injured. So I have Kirkes to play the game against Southampton because I want Robertson for the Crystal Palace away game. But your centre-back show is the exact same centre-backs, mate, Guehi, that I've gone with as well for the preview. It makes sense, right? Both need minutes, Gomez and Giovanni Leone, so... it would make sense to play them both as the centre-backs. And my best guess at a captain was Curtis Jones. That was my... Jones or Gomez was my best guess at a captain. What do you think of Szoboszlai out of position as a right-back, said Iaki Ahmed Abdi. He can do it, mate, and he can do it well, but I still prefer him in his midfield role. I think it's where we get the best out of him. But it's great to know and see that he can play that right back role and play it in a creative way as well. It just speaks to, again, his versatility as a footballer. But his best position for me is still in that attacking midfield role or as a 10. Charlie said, fair play to Canade for his improvement in performances, seems to have responded to the criticism. Absolutely fair. I've had nothing but good things to say for the last 3 performances for Canade. It was only the first 2 games for me, Charlie, that had me concerned, but Arsenal game, Atleti game, and today, no problems with Canade's focus, concentration. No, I think he's looked, as he normally does, back to himself. So I'm glad you brought it up, mate. Lucetti Masonry said, did you hear the stat that this is the first time Slot has won 5 games in a row in charge of Liverpool? Not sure how true it is. I wouldn't know whether it was true or not, mate, to be honest. Winning 5 games in a row is more difficult than a lot of people think. So even a draw in there, throws off your results. And with the way we finished last season, having won the league at a canter, I can maybe see a time where that was possible. Because we had the Plymouth loss in the FA Cup. We had some games we kind of threw away in the likes of the Champions League at PSV Eindhoven and stuff like that. Some dead rubber game at the end. So yeah, I can see where that was maybe possible, but like I said, I don't know if it is or isn't true. Triller X said the upsetting part of the Chiesa story is why did the club keep him when he's not seen as a player who could help the team in the big games? It's baffling, and everything pointed to the fact that, and actually we'll end that poll, 62% said that you don't think the manager wants Fede around, and I don't see how anybody could say differently. Like, let's look at the evidence. All of last season, he wasn't being used, and we were told it was a fitness thing. Fair enough. Gets a full preseason in this summer, but wasn't taken on the tour over. The official line was that he was carrying a knock, but ultimately we know it's because he was looking, and talking to the clubs about a move. The move never happened. Then we didn't see him in the Champions League squad. Even then you can say, okay, fair enough. But today again, nothing in the no match day squad for him. It is hard to think realistically that Arna thinks he can rely on him or sees him as a difference maker if he's not on benches on games like today. Ryan said, Slot said VVD won't be playing Tuesday along with Mo, Dom, Ibu and Grav. And all sensible, Ryan. All sensible, because these guys need a breather when we can give it to them. And, even without all those players you mentioned, still more than enough talent there for Liverpool to mix it up and take care of Southampton. Naturalist said, I think basically no club offered enough in terms of a price to get Chiesa. All the Italian clubs lowball. Also, probably in terms of wages, they would want something lower. Well, that, and I remember reading a piece. I can't remember who it was from. I don't know if it was Lewis Steele or if it was Ben Jacobs. I think it was one of those two. And they said basically that Arna's adamant he wants 6 forwards. He wants 2 options for every position. And that's why Chiesa was kept around last year after the winter window. So, I don't know now, because we had a whole summer. And yes, we made a lot of wholesale changes. But still no belief in Chiesa by the looks of it, even though he came off and scored a goal for us. I don't know. It's a difficult one to figure out. Who do you think Chiesa would replace from today's bench if you were the manager? That's something we talked about earlier on, Charlie, and it's not an easy answer to give you. So let me just go back and look at the bench, because I do have it here in my notes. So let me just fly back through and look at Liverpool's bench today. So we had Gomez, Endo, Wirtz, Isak, Jones, Mamardashvili, Robertson, Frimpong, Rio. So obviously you're going to want a centre-back on there. So Joe Gomez being there makes sense. Endo is your only other like-for-like, I guess, defensive midfielder. Wirtz, obviously you're not leaving him out, or Isak, or Jones, or Mamardashvili. You need a backup goalkeeper. It's tough. Nobody. Like, I get it. Like, you look at that bench and who do you leave out? Rio? Well, he's the future of the club. You want to give him an opportunity where possible. So, yeah, I don't know who, if anybody, you could have left out. Yeah, nobody. I think everybody on that bench deserves to be on that bench ahead of Chiesa, because we have people, how many forwards have we got there? Rio and Isak. So there's 2 forwards there, and Wirtz as well. You've got Gomez for your centre-back, Endo for your DM, Robbo for your left-back, Frimpong for your right-back. There isn't really anyone that I can think of. Hammer UK 21 said Prem needs to follow Europe and other leagues in Europe and go to 12 subs. It would certainly make the managers' lives a lot easier. Because Premier League squads are getting bigger and bigger. So, yeah, I hear you. What have we got there? 9. So, yeah, it's a fair shout. Charlie said, I'd say Endo, probably Jones can cover the midfield. Look, Endo's probably the most likely one, like you've said. You could even make the argument that Alexis McAllister could sit back in the deeper line midfield position if needs be. But I don't think there's a cut and dry decision there. Jack. Yeah. Yeah. All that, Jack. All of it and more. Definitely. I was just about to say it, but you got there before me, Jack. So well played. Yeah. I think everyone agrees with you, Jack. You've nailed on the head there, bro. Fair play. Billy Beckner says, interestingly enough, we've seen a... Do you know what, actually? Do you know what I'd say to you, Jack? 6-7. You know? Now that I think about it, 6-7. Interestingly enough, we've seen a heavy rotation in midfield this season between Wirtz, Maka, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and Jones. I like that Slot is rotating the midfield. David Smith just checked and said, correct. We didn't achieve 5 consecutive Prem wins last season. Lots of 4s, though. So there you go. Interesting stat. And thank you for checking on that one, David. H. Burgess said, I think he said, his agenda, do you think United are title challengers? What's the title, though? Like, not for the Premier League. Come on now. Title of the biggest gobshites in the league, maybe. Title for let's spend a load of dough and sack off people, maybe. But no, they're not. The fact that Gary Neville even predicted them to get Champions League football, I found an insult as a football fan to my intelligence. Christine said, if we sell Chiesa, will the new player brought in to replace him go through the same issues? It's a really fair point. It's a really fair point, Christine, because again, we're still talking about who do you take out of that squad there today. So, good point. Like, let's say, for instance, we brought in, I don't know, I'm picking a name here out of the hat, but let's say we brought in, right, let's go back through who'd be willing to. What's your man's name that went to RB Leipzig from Eindhoven? The young winger that we were linked with. I can't think of his name. He's at RB Leipzig now anyway. Like, let's say we brought him in. Oh, God, who was it? It's going to bug me. Somebody help me out with his name. No, not Nusa. No, the guy who was at PSV Eindhoven, scored against us in the Champions League. Yes, Johan Bakayoko. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Johan Bakayoko. So let's say we brought in Johan Bakayoko in the summer. Would he have been on the bench today? And if he was, who we dropping off? It is a difficult one because you don't want your bench stacked with just all attackers either. The manager has to find a balance between attack, defence. You know, he has to cover all options and has to do it with the 9 subs available, and of course has to have a goalkeeper on there as well. Is that the ex-Chelsea player? No, not him. He's a young winger. He's at RB Leipzig now, I believe. Went from PSV Eindhoven. You think Anfield should add more seats and ships? I'd say we're probably alright for the amount of ships that we have. Seats, the more the merrier, though. The more the merrier, Belfast Warrior. I mean, what are we looking at next? Probably the King Kenny stand, Anfield Road, or excuse me, Cop End, but that's a difficult one. But yeah, of course, you want the more seats, the merrier. The problem is, though, if Liverpool were to start extending again, then you're having to look at stuff like infrastructure projects, noise pollution, and all these other boring things that, you know, councils and planning authorities want sorted out. Martin said, Chiesa is not getting sold in January. This is absolute bull. So, Martin, before you come in and getting angry at me, dude, or anybody else, remember, I don't write the story. I'm not telling you he's getting sold. I'm telling you that Milan Live are reporting that AC Milan are going to come in January with a bid for him because Allegri would like to be reunited with him. Now, on the face of it, if we just think about that, can you imagine a world where they'd want that? Because I can. Now, the price that they've mentioned, man, that's a piss take. They're talking about €5 million. €5 million is not even going to get Liverpool to answer an email. But again, the attitude, mate. I'm being respectful to you. I'd like it back. Did I watch the Chelsea game? I did, Petter. Yes, I did, mate. I had it on. Obviously, games are always wrecked when there's a red card in them that early. When it went to 10-10, the game stretched. Obviously, Chelsea started creating a lot more chances. And probably could have forced an equaliser, but I'd be a liar, mate, if I told you I'm not happy that you dropped more points. Because I never want United to win, but I view you as a far bigger threat at Chelsea than Manchester United are. So, this weekend I've already seen Spurs drop points, which is good because they're, up the top end. Chelsea dropping points, getting beaten. Somebody's dropping points tomorrow between Arsenal and Manchester City. And we beat Everton today, so good news for us. Martin said, I'm not angry at you, I was only saying. Fair enough, dude, fair enough. Like I said, I don't know you, mate. We're only having a conversation here. And I agree, because it doesn't make any sense. It would leave us short at a time where Salah's going off to the AFCON and, what benefit is it to us to get rid of Chiesa for £4 million? So I agree, it's a stupid story, but I can see why Milan would want him. And I could see maybe why Chiesa would want the move. But you're not going to get Liverpool to bite at that price tag. It's just silly. Do you think we make more signings in January? Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one to say. On the face of it, no, I don't think so. But it's football and anything can happen. You're hoping we don't pick up an injury, a serious injury or anything like that. I could see a world where maybe we bring in a young player for the future that's like somewhere between 17 and 19, something like that, but nobody first team wise. I'd be very surprised unless there's a real bargain or an opportunity that Liverpool just think is too good to turn down. But in a World Cup year, like I said, I don't think there'll be a lot of business done in January. Kaylin said, is there any credibility to Chiesa's story? He is a fan favourite and nobody would like him to leave. However, I doubt he'll be around by the start of next season. Well, it looks, Kaylin, pretty clear that Arne doesn't rate him, right? I know publicly Arne will say differently, but the proof of the pudding's in the eating. Not in the Champions League squad, fair enough. Didn't know on the pre-season tour why. And again, today wasn't in the matchday squad. Now, again, I'm not saying on the face of it Arne's made the wrong decision, but it's showing us that he doesn't think he can turn to. So for that reason, I agree, he won't be here by the end of next summer, I don't think. Mate, I've got no idea who that is. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude with you, sir. I have no idea who that is. And also, I don't really expect us to make any signings in the winter window unless something happens with Canade and Mark Guehi, as an example. That's the only thing I could really see happening. Even if we did sell Chiesa, would we even bring in somebody then, or would you just say Jayden Danns will get that spot if it's the 6th forward spot? Audio looks fine to me at my end, mate. I do have an audio meter that gives me everything, and it's looking fine to me. Itachi said, do you think we should give either Isak or Ekitike a shot on the left wing? I would say of the two, Ekitike for me would be the one I'd look to stick out there. But look, if we want to play the two of them together, something has to give. Either we stick with a 4-2-2 or a 4-2-2-2, or one of them goes out to the left. Robert said, love your show, Craig. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Robert Younger. Appreciate that, mate. Welcome in. Lovely to have you with us. Folks, if I could ask you a little favour, if you can, hit the like button for me. Appreciate you guys being with me tonight. I love these quiet streams. We can have a proper chat. We've about 15 minutes left on tonight's stream, so any questions or topics that you'd like to discuss, please do throw it in. I'll do my best to get to it. Paul Owen said the best start in a couple of seasons. Honestly, Paul, if we went back when the fixtures were released, mate, and someone said to me, right, Craig, run through them first 5 games, how many points? I would probably say I would have taken 12, 13 maybe. 15 is dreamland, especially when, we'll all admit we haven't hit our stride yet and we haven't played our best yet. So to be sitting here perfect, having beaten Arsenal, beaten Newcastle, beaten Everton in a Merseyside derby, first home win against Bournemouth as well, and then we had that late win against Burnley. I'm buzzing because I know we're only going to get better, and the more the lads play with each other, the more they build those relationships up, the easier I think some of these games become for us. So incredibly great start to the season, and yeah. Honestly, I'm so happy because I thought we'd probably have a draw or two in those opening 5 games. Aaron said Ekitike on the left for the cup match. I'd do it, but I'm an idiot. So I have him through the centre for the cup match. I don't want to give you my team because I want you to watch the preview tomorrow night. But my front 3, I have Rio, Chiesa, and Ekitike as my front 3. But I do, that gentleman earlier on who said, what about the idea of maybe giving Isak a run? I could see a world where giving him 60 would make sense if he brought Jadon Dans on maybe for the last 30. Grealish whining in his interview made my day. I haven't actually seen him, what he had to say. Yeah, I don't know what he had to say, honestly. So whatever he was moaning about, I don't know why he was moaning, but... did I see that Will Wright got taken off? I didn't, mate, no. Jeff said, love the show, Craig. Thank you, Jeff. Thought we played some beautiful football today at times. Just think what is possible as they gel. Absolutely. I thought the first 25, 30, really good. Intensity was there. And we are starting to see patches of it now, Jeff. So hopefully patches become a bit longer. And then, if we do what we did today for an hour, I think we have teams beaten, and then the manager can start to rest players up and give others half an hour. We just need to stop with the conceding when we're 2-0 up. If we can just push through, find that third, kill the game off, we could be able to manage minutes for the players a lot better as the season goes on. Which is one thing, by the way, Arne Slot and Ruben Peters are really good at, is managing that workload on the players. Maverick said, when Salah goes to the AFCON, who do you think will play at right wing? Ekitike or Isak or Rio? So again, I think it will probably depend on the opposition. I don't think there will be one answer that will do it all. Frimpong might do a bit. You could shift across Rio or Gakpo. Maybe Chiesa. Maybe we switch formation. There could be a world where Arne decides to go 4-2-2-2 for that and play with 2 strikers. Jack said, sorry about my message, but is Chelsea fit for the title? Never need to apologise, mate. It's okay. I didn't want to be rude or anything about it, Jack, but are they fit for the title? No, not yet, mate. I don't think they're there yet. They are going to be a concern in years to come, but I don't think it's going to be this season. And with all the, we're talking at Liverpool here about the changes we've made and gelling together. Chelsea have signed something like 51 players over the last 4 years. So they have a lot of gelling together to do. And also the increased competition for them this season. They could put out a weakened team or a different team throughout the Conference League last year. Now they have the Club World Cup, which will come back to bite them in the ass. Fair play to them winning it. Big achievement, and they deserve to win it. But that will have an impact on their season. We've already seen them pick up some injuries. The fact that they have so many players that are so young, I don't think they've any players over 30 in that squad, if I'm not mistaken. So no, I don't think they're going to be ready for this season, Jack. But in years to come, they're going to be a problem. They are, because they've put together a good collection of players. No lie, Eli said. Slot said after the game that the team ran out of steam in the second half, which I get, but then maybe he should make subs a bit earlier to keep up the momentum. It's a balance because he wants continuity. Yeah, well, look, let's be frank about this as well. We had a short turnaround. We played Wednesday night and then we were the first game Saturday morning, so that wasn't ideal. Now we play Tuesday, and it'll be a much changed team, and then next Saturday 3 p.m. Against Crystal Palace, which is the start of 3 away games in a row for us. We've got Crystal Palace, then Galatasaray away in the Champions League, then Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge before the October international break. So that's going to be another testing period for the lads. Wow, 4-1 Fulham. That is some turnaround after going 1-0 down early doors. That is a whooping being issued out there. Brentford defence not good. Christina will have to go and rescue a certain Irish centre-back there than Mr. Nathan Collins. Jonathan Tucker, how are you, sir? Said, Craig, what's your thoughts on Kirke's performance today? I thought he was good. Yeah, much better. It's a Merseyside derby, so you're wondering, is he going to be too aggressive, too gung-ho? But I thought he got the balance right today. And I think vindicated the manager's decision to play him. So, yeah, really good for Milos today. Itachi said, after this window and going 5 out of 5, when Isak and Wirtz still not settled, this season will be buzzing. Imagine we play 60 minutes like the first 30 today. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier on. We'll blow teams away, mate. If we can do that 60, then the fringe players will get way more chances this season. Neoni will get more minutes. Young Rio will get more minutes, and Arnold will be able to spread around that workload. And maybe even start to give the likes of Canada and Virgil a bit of a breather. And, you don't usually see centre-back substitutions made, but why not? If we can have games killed off after 60. Yeah, Belfast Warrior, respectfully, mate, I'm not even going to bring that super chat up. I don't even know what to say to it about it. Sorry. Goal ruled out. People are saying there, so still 3-1 to Fulham. Still a big turnaround, from going 1-0 down. Fair play to them. So, goal disallowed. Well, it looked like from the comments anyway, so, are you asking, was Frimpong injured? If you're asking, was Frimpong injured, then no, he wasn't. Just on the bench. He went with Bradley today. So, no, not injured. If that's the question, mate, no, he wasn't. Which, I don't think we have any injuries, actually, Belfast Warrior. I think at the minute we've got a clean bill of health in the squad, which is lovely to be able to see, or to say, isn't it? We only had Curtis Jones, I think, before coming back into this one. So, yeah, there's not many times where I think especially after an international break, we'll get to sit here and say the manager has a full complement of players available to him, which is fantastic. Chelsea are also under investigation with the PFA for rule breaches. Well, to be fair, they self-reported the rule breaches of stuff that happened during the Abramovich era. And the Disasi and Sterling stuff, yeah, look, I don't know enough about that, to be fair. I know that there are certain rules that players have to be able to train with other people, and they have to be treated fairly. That is a matter for the FA, the PFA, the players, and Chelsea to figure out. Could you see Leone playing some league matches or Champions League matches? I hope so, because he is one of our 4 centre backs, and Virgil and Canada can't play every single game. So yeah, I hope so. He was brought in for the here and now. That's what we were told. We'll see him against Southampton on Tuesday, and I can't wait to see him. So, yeah, fingers crossed we get to see him play some league and maybe Champions League games as well. Grim Reaper said Grav has been fucking unbelievable since Slot joined. Bayern have been absolutely robbed. Yes, they have. That money just seems like an absolute steal now. Rumours have it that Ruud Gullit has photos of Gravenberch around his house, wishing he was half the player. I heard that as well. I didn't want to say it on stream though, but I think you're right, you know. Petter said, Craig, they are being treated fairly unless training with the first team is unfair. Like I said, Petter, I don't know, mate. I'm not judging the Chelsea situation because I'm not well informed enough about it. I've got far more information on the self-reporting of the discrepancies they found in the books, but not for me to say. You're a Chelsea fan. You know more about it than me. I wouldn't know, dude. I'm not judging you on it. I promise you. It's JB said, what's with the Sterling and the Sassy thing? So there's something about they're frozen out, basically. They're not in the squads. They're not in the European squads. They're not training with the first team. So there's something going on there. And again, I'm not educated enough on it to tell you exactly the ins and outs of it. Naturally said, only by Cecic still not back. Is he not back at all? Wow. Because remember, he had that operation, and we were thought that maybe he'd get back for some of pre-season. If he's not back at all, God. Yeah, that's not great. If he's still not back at all. Jay Cliff said, Craig, really feel for Kelleher at Brentford. That move is really turning into a strange one. I never understood the decision to go to Brentford. Look, again, we don't know what options were on the table for Kelleher, but I still can't believe Newcastle didn't want to sign him. I still would say he's better than Sanchez at Chelsea as well. So, Brentford, I guess, put the money down and got him, but is it the best move for Kelleher in his career? Well, he's playing week in and week out, but it's not a great Brentford team, is it? Darwizzy said, I got a sneaky feeling that we might sign Elise next summer. I'd love it. Look, ideally, having Salah's long-term successor in a year before would be brilliant, to bed him in. But how do you manage that? I don't know. How do you manage that with Salah and Elise and the minutes? Do you bring him in and sell Chiesa, maybe? And that would make some sense. You'd still have the same 6 number of forwards then. Any update on Will Wright? He's playing with the underage teams. So I think he played for the under-19s in the Europa Youth League against Atletico midweek, if I'm not mistaken. Paul said, I thought Stefan was back too. So I know he's been doing some training, Stefan, but sure, we haven't seen him in a matchday squad. But look, we might get a clearer picture of it on Tuesday. If he is fit and at least available, you would imagine he'd be in the squad for the League Cup game on Tuesday, if not starting. Gabriel said, I seriously hate all the Verts hate. He needs to get used to the Prem, but man, the hate is everywhere. And to be truly fair, he's gotten better with every game. So, replace the word hate, Gabriel, for fear. And I think that's what's the truth of it. Now, if you're talking about some Liverpool fans online, look, there's always arseholes online, mate, that don't have a realistic expectation of anything to do with Liverpool. But opposition fans and stuff like that, they're just all hoping he fails. So it's fear for me that's driving them to have these opinions, and that makes me smile. Didn't Will Wright come off in the Youth League? I didn't watch the whole game. I just seen his name, Leona, in the lineup, so I've no idea. I didn't really pay attention to the game. I just had a quick glance at the lineup to see that Neoni was in it, because then I knew Neoni wasn't obviously going to be part of the senior team. Not Reds, lots of rivals. Oh, that's fair, Gabriel. That's all that is, dude. If he was at any one of their teams, they would be wetting themselves with excitement, dude. So, Just look at it as fear, because that's the truth. Right, ladies and gents, I'm going to go because I've got to record the Anfield Agenda podcast with Connor and Chris. So tomorrow, what's the plan? The podcast will be out tomorrow morning for everybody. So let me know what you think of it. Myself, Chris and Connor are going to talk about today's game. We're going to look ahead to Southampton. Tomorrow late night, the preview is going to come out for the Southampton game. And I will be here tomorrow at 8:30 for a late night agenda where we'll talk about the result of the Arsenal-Manchester City game and we'll see where we sit in the Premier League table at that point. Hint, it'll be top. So thank you so much for coming back on to have a chat with me tonight. I always love these quieter streams because we get to have a bit of fun and get to know each other a little bit better. If you can hit that like button for me just before you head out the door, it really would be appreciated. If every one of you did it, we could get up to 1,000 likes. It only takes a second, but it really does help us out. So look, appreciate you. Have a wonderful Saturday night. Thanks for joining me again. The Reds are still perfect. So are you guys. We'll talk soon. Bye.